I am shooting the Nikon D500 and the Tamron 150-600 G2 lens, and I'll tell you why I'm doing that shortly. This camera debuted somewhere in 2016, and it was like a favorite for wildlife and sports photographers. Fast forward, we're in 2025 now, and why am I still shooting this? The mirrorless cameras have actually dominated the scene in 2025, but this will always have a place in my camera bag. Let's talk about some of the things that make the D500 stand out. Little things like this little joystick here that moves the autofocus points that I still have today on my Z8. Those are some of the things that really made me love this camera. The autofocus system is still a beast. The 153 focus points, 99 of which are cross type, those really come in handy, especially when it's like bird in flight situations. The durability is another strong suit. This thing is a tank. Like, I would not hesitate to shoot with this in rain, sleet, and snow. I've had it in harsh weather, like in the desert, Joshua Tree, or up in the mountains in Oregon in the snow. Never let me down, not one bit. I would hesitate to take some of these mirrorless cameras up there though. The crop sensor, which some people frown upon, is pretty important. That 1.5 crop makes this 600 millimeter lens turn into 900 millimeters. I'm gonna share some shots that I was just taking because I had my Z8 and D500 on my passenger seat shooting a Kestrel. And of course, the same 600 millimeter lens translates into 900 on this crop sensor, while on the full frame it stays at 600. So as I'm losing light here, I have to mention the fact that the low light performance of this camera is pretty impressive, especially when shooting one of these prosumer lenses like I have, which has a max aperture of 6.3 fully extended. This body will get you some pretty impressive images at higher ISOs than you would imagine. The 20.9 megapixel sensor is not groundbreaking by any means, but it is perfect for shooting really detailed birds and fast-moving wildlife and sports to this day. So that, coupled with its low light performance in 2025 still, makes it very, very, very competitive up there against these mirrorless cameras that are taking over the market. And I do know it's only 10 frames per second. I think with the grip it takes it up to 11 or 12 frames per second if I'm not wrong. but in comparison to like the 40 frames per second that a lot of these new mirrorless cameras are shooting, 10 versus 40 looks like a huge difference, but you really only need one good shot. And as far as that goes, you just need a good, reliable camera for that. This checks off that box. So why do I still use this in 2025? It is a reliable, cost-effective, and it just feels right in my hands. Especially when I have the grip on here. It just works perfectly for me. There's also a little bit of nostalgia that goes with this. Personal stories. When I picked up photography about maybe 6-7 years ago or so, I got a Nikon Nikon 3200, D3200, and that was like the basic entry-level APS-C camera. And I fell in love with photography and literally jumped up to the D500. So I skipped everything in between and went from the basic model to the flagship APS-C camera and never turned back from that. So this will never lose a place in my heart. It's gonna be my favorite APS-C for years to come. That brings me to one of the last things that I almost forgot about and why I didn't switch to the mirrorless world is the EVF, the electronic viewfinders for most of the Nikon cameras until now pretty much sucked. I had the Z6 and it wasn't the greatest. The tracking wasn't the greatest, but there's something about using that optical viewfinder. It just seems so organic to me. You can look through the viewfinder, focus on whatever you need versus the EVF. I'm gonna wrap up the video here. I wanna thank you very much for watching. Have a fantastic new year. Let me know in the comments why you're still shooting your DSLR and what are your favorite things about shooting them. We'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.